All right, everyone, we've got a super special guest. I mean, probably one of the coolest guys in wargaming right now. It's Warboss Fitz. Man, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, no problem. I love talking with everybody about OPR.
It
It's good.
it is really it's really like your channel, I think. I mean, I follow all your stuff on your channel. And yeah, I really love like what you're sort of doing with OPR, how you're really starting. We're gonna get into it. Well, okay, I'm sorry. Let's we'll kind of jumping ahead of myself, but real fast for those who don't know you, tell us a little bit about how you sort of got started into wargaming, and then maybe tell us how you even sort of started this YouTube thing. What kind of brought you about into this?
Well, I started wargaming. Like I was always into artsy stuff, and I was into models a lot when I was a kid too. Like I had an uncle who was a Marine who did a lot of scale modeling, and so I would play around with his like scale jets and things. And of course, I break them because I was a kid, and I was oh no. But so I was always into models like cars and things, and then my friend in high school one day was drawing a picture of a space marine. And I went, hey, that's cool. And now here we are 30 years later. And yeah, that's what started it all. I saw a picture of a space marine, went, hey, that's cool. And then he introduced me to 40K second edition.
Oh
And
yeah, okay. You're a second edition bro like me.
yep,
Very
out
cool.
at the very end of second edition. We all bought codexes, and then like 2 weeks later, third edition came out.
Oh wow. Oh wow.
So we got introduced early to that.
Oh, well, those were good days. Good times. Good times in Games Workshop. What did you play in second edition?
I started off with Dark Angels.
Hmm.
We all did different Space Marine chapters. I did Dark Angels. Steve did Ultramarines. There was a couple of Blood Angels, and of course, I had to be different, so I took the green ones.
Hmm. I
And then
love
after that, yeah, after that, those turned into Fallen Angels, playing Chaos, and then Imperial Guard, and then over time, all of them. I played every army in 40K.
Oh wow. Wow. So when did you kind of get out? I was like, so when did you sort of have your fill of 40K? Because well, are you still playing 40K? I guess I should sort of
Oh,
preface that.
I'm not playing 40K anymore. Ninth edition, like the second half of ninth edition, I just stopped. I
Yeah.
just stopped. I was on a friend of mine had a 40K YouTube channel, and I was recording a game with him. And about halfway through, it was just like it's gone. I,
Hmm.
I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, ninth was particularly rough. And I gave ninth a shot, and yeah, you're right. It wasn't. It was a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah,
So
but yeah, by then I'd already been bit by OPR, so I was like, I could go play OPR instead of ninth edition 40K.
now, um did you get into you because you started your channel? So you had sort of played OPR for a little bit, and then you sort of started your channel.
Yeah, I started playing OPR about a year before I started the channel.
Mhm.
And really, like, I got a 3D printer and I learned how to do 3D printing, not very well yet. And it was still the early days of 3D printing. So I started the channel just to justify to myself why I was making so much stuff. And yeah, my first couple videos were just bad. It's just me trying to make a narrative story with some orcs looking back on it, it was bad, but at the time I thought this is the coolest thing ever. And it just grew from there. And I remember seeing someone had a comment on something on Reddit going, I wish we had someone that goes over all the armies.
Mm,
And
hmm.
so the light bulb went off in my head. I was like, hey, I can do that.
Yeah,
And
yeah, and you've really become a fixture in OPR. I think that a lot of people who play OPR, I think everyone who plays knows you, but so you've sort of seen, especially I think you've probably been OPR before 3.0, and I think with 2024, a lot happened in 2024 here. What
yeah,
maybe just sort of give us your thoughts about maybe this past year in OPR and then maybe 3.4. How do you feel about the direction of OPR? Because it's a lot has changed here. And have you sort of seen OPR in that sort of vein.
Well, a lot of the changes they did to 3.4, I liked them. I kind of wish they kept the assault rule in the basic rules because for the YouTube channel, I'm only really allowed, I think I'm only allowed to do the basic rules whenever I do battle reports. So I kind of wish that was still in there so I could show that off.
Hmm.
Um, but I mean, as the armies have kind of changed and morphed, and we've had point changes and balance updates, little minor ones, nothing like the GW. Everything gets blown up and started over. Everything in OPR kind of tweaks and just little jiggles a little bit. So everything there, I really like the direction 3.4 is. But what I'm really looking forward to is Gaetano said that in September he's going to be doing a rules kind of not like a refluffing of the armies, but kind of like a rules refluffing where everyone gets their own like bespoke rules. So I'm
Hmm.
looking forward to that just because one, it lets me look at everything again. And two, there's a lot of stuff that I think would be a little bit more interesting with some more tweaks to it.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's what I'm looking forward to there.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I think so. That is on everyone's kind of mind, and I think it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to sort of seeing how it goes with that. Now, I did see you on the Rangers page because you sound to be a Ranger too. Um, have is that kind of what you're doing? Because so you're going to Adepticon, correct? And are you going to be are you working with them directly, or is it sort of
I am going to be working with OPR directly. I'm
very
going to be
cool?
running the how to play tables. So I think Param said there's going to be hundreds of people that I'm going to teach how to play OPR, and it's going to
Oh.
be fun.
Oh man, that's so cool. And I can't think of a better person to go and do it. Um, we've talked here and there, both I see you on the channel, but also talk with you, separately. And certainly one of the coolest guys. So I think it's going to be really awesome that you're going to sort of get some of these guys. Um, how do
Yeah,
you kind of, yeah.
say we I have a friend who owns a pizza store, and we set up a dedicated play place there just because not many people want to come to just some guy's garage to play.
Mhm.
So we set up a place there, and I have a video coming out where we had our first Ranger Day there, where I taught someone how to play.
Oh,
So the video should be coming out soon if it's not out already by the time this goes out. So you
very
could see me
cool.
teaching someone how to play from the beginning, and he opened up his boxes, and I saw 8th edition Orc Codex. I'm like, oh, you've been out for a while. Let me teach you some stuff.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Now, so so as far as OPR, where do you kind of see the end game for OPR? Because I know that we, this is my thought. I always think that like OPR, I always feel has the potential to sort of be a war machine where it may not ever beat GW, but I think it can be big enough that I could see OPR actually being played in every game store in the future. But that's me. How do you kind of see OPR as far as, where it could be?
I see OPR as it's like a gateway game. It's
Hmm.
it's it's simple on its surface, but until you start digging into it, you get all the nuances of the different armies, the way the dice rolls and stuff go. So it is very easy to start. I think that it's going to be something that everyone's going to like know about OPR. Everyone's going to maybe play a few games of OPR and then stick around with OPR like I have because I loved it, or branch out into different games,
Hmm.
which I love all kinds of different games. But
Hmm.
I think OPR should be, especially since they're doing their physical sales now, should be in every game store. Um, just right next to the old seasoned grizzled veterans playing all the other games. There should be
Yeah.
OP going on, teaching people about the war game hobby.
Hmm. And I think the great thing about it is that hopefully it won't be mutually exclusive, right? I mean, maybe in the future, maybe OPR actually could get big enough that they would actually, Games Workshop would actually look and say, oh, maybe we're going to, take some things from OPR as well. So it'd be interesting to sort of see. Um, Now, I know on your channel, because I follow all your work, but one of the things I think has really been cool that I've been doing is you've been doing bigger points. Now, you've been actually you've got an idea that I wanted to do, which is taking the 6 millimeter, I guess it's the epic scale. I mean,
Yep.
and playing bigger games with those. How have you liked OPR at sort of that 5 to 10,000 point range?
At the 5 to 10,000 point range, it's like I've found that the armies can feel like one is going to absolutely dominate the other just in size and looking at the list. But as you play the game, things change and it's so dynamic on what can happen on the board. Like a 10,000 point game, you could come down to like a dozen models at the end of it.
Hmm.
It's just such a killy lethal game, and I love it. And,
Hmm.
yeah, and doing it in 6 millimeter. The reason why I'm doing it in 6 millimeters, one, because I printed all these 6 millimeter stuff like in the beginning of my 3D printing experience because those files were everywhere.
Hmm.
So I still have a whole bunch of those, and it's easy to get a 5,000 point game printed. So that's why I'm doing it in 6 millimeter. Cut the board size in half, cut the ranges in half, and use everything like a multi-based squad, and it works great.
Yeah, yeah, and it's something that I want to do because I've got like a gaming table, but I never get a chance to set it out because it's always like taken over. But I've thought about like that's something I want to do is to build like I said, a 2 foot by 3 foot, half the range. I have a lot of friends because I play a lot of Epic as well, and just grab some friends, play some Epic at that scale, and sort of see because I know I've played 5,000 points in just regular scale. And now it takes longer, I will agree. Like it takes maybe like 2.5 hours, I feel like, getting close around there. But that isn't
For
too big. I mean, that's not
for a game
insane.
that big, yeah, it's going to be a good. That's a good time for a game that big.
Yeah, yeah.
I
And
remember the 5,000 point or 10,000 point 40K days. You're there all day to maybe get to turn three. So
mhm.
yeah, it just plays a lot faster.
Yeah, and is it's nice to have that option where like that's what I love about one page rules. Yes, you can play it small and it's great. But at 5 plus thousand, yeah, you're right. That's like a special mass battles that you can get. Now, for you, didn't you you've done, was it like 5,000 points aside, or did you just was it just straight 10,000 on your side?
Oh, it was 5,000 points aside.
Okay, yeah. Okay, that's what I
Like
remember.
using the War Master 10 millimeter scale stuff, I have done like 15,000 points in regiments.
Hmm.
So that one scales up great too. For that, I used the full size board with the half ranges because I mean we were ridiculous size there.
And those battles are so like I really want to play at that range. I want to get into some regiments again. How are you liking regiments? Because I know they did do some changes there. How are you feeling about regiments?
I mean they did a couple tweaks like with the ambush rule, and I think they changed the scouting rule and things too. I like the way that it's works out because it just feels different than Age of Fantasy just in a block.
Hmm.
So I like the way it works out. I mean, we don't do it a bunch, but when we do it, it's fun.
Very cool. Very cool. Um, One things I have been seeing is you've been doing the custom armies, and one of the it's funny. I just put out a bat rep for it was Trench Crusade, and you are doing custom armies for Trench Crusade. So what do you think? So it seems like like what do you think about Trench Crusade and the game, and how do I would love to see some battle reports for these things coming out, but yeah.
Oh yeah, they will with the Trench Crusade stuff. I've got one army complete. I've got the list for the Trench Pilgrims, and I have an army built for them. The next
Oh.
one I had everyone vote on it is going to be New Antioch, I believe. So I'm going to make an army and then print those up, and then that's what I'm going to do a battle report with those. But
Oh,
with
that's
Trench
cool.
Crusade itself, I like the lore mostly. Some of it goes into like ludicrous territory, but it's
Yeah.
okay. It's a war game. It's supposed to. And like as far as like the game of Trench Crusade goes, I've got no idea.
Hmm.
I saw the models and I liked the models, but I didn't want to learn a new game. And my immediate thought was I can use these in OPR somehow.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm using the custom army builder. Like you could use the Trench Crusade models to just be a human empire army if you want it. But
Mhm.
I'm putting a little bit more flavor in there that's going to be kind of Trench Crusade lore like
Mhm.
into the custom armies.
Yeah. Now you've done several some pretty good armies. The Trench Crusade. You've done did you do a Helldivers army? Was that yours or was that someone else that I'm thinking of?
I think I was the first one that did a Helldivers army, but I think Chris over Good Enough has done one as well. And you're going to hear the train coming. He's a uh, recurring guest character on the channel.
Oh yeah, no worries, no worries. What do you think about the custom army build? Do you see it actually? Because I'm a big custom armies guy. I really love them. How do you kind of feel about custom armies versus official armies? And where do you sort of see the place on custom armies and your sort of feeling on that?
Custom armies, I think that they're going to be balanced because they're made with the same like rules point calculator. So they're going to be balanced there. There's different ways that they kind of railroad you into not being ridiculous with the army, but there's a certain number of combinations that can be a little strong compared to
Mhm.
others. So I think custom armies within reason, like if we had a independent tournament circuit for OPR, I could see having like a list of like acceptable custom armies,
Mhm.
or like you got to give them your custom army and be like, hey, does this meet the standard?
Mhm.
But as far as custom armies go, just doing the hobby aspect, like I kind of focus on, it's an amazing thing. It's so fun to be able to throw together what you want. Like if you have an official army and it's not quite what you want, and you want one or two other little things, you could put it in there. You could take some stuff out, put new stuff in, and to really make it your own to do what you want it to do.
Mhm.
I think it's great, and it's something that other war games I think should do because why not? It's just a great piece of equipment.
Yeah, yeah. Now, as far as like, and that's something that I would, if I was with the creator, I would tell them maybe reach out to those Trench Crusade guys and be like, hey, Warboss Fitz here or someone else, hey, make your own Trench Crusade mass armies and then maybe some sort of partnership. I think that would be, I mean, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that would be great because they already have the creators page where the other 3D modelers and stuff can make their own armies for it. I would love for someone to reach out to Trench Crusade, and then all of a sudden we see their little icon pop up in the creator screen. I would absolutely, it'd be great.
Okay. Okay. Well, very cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing a Trench Crusade OPR battle. And you may inspire me. I may go. I mean, so do you are you using some specific models that or is it
I'm using like I'm basing it off of the units in the Trench Crusade books, like the Trench Pilgrims. I have their units broke down in the army. And then I'm going to do that for each of the armies. But as far as models go, some of the models I love from Trench Crusade. Some of them I think I could do better.
hmm
So I use some other models to make that work. Like I think the Trench Pilgrims army I have, it uses like flagellants for a lot of it. We still got the pointy helmets because
hmm
that's just, of course. And it has like World War One rifles instead of ad hoc put together stuff that they seem to have. And but stuff like the like what's their dreadnought called? The big guy with the
Oh, I know what you're talking. I just played against it. The Anchorite Shrine.
yeah,
That's it.
like that. I think that model's great, and I made rules for it, and it's in the army that I built. So
Mhm. Very cool. Very cool. Now, one of the things that's pretty cool is that you do get into a lot of your videos when you do these army overviews. You don't just do the army, but you'll actually go into the lore. How do you kind of feel about one page rules lore? Because I know they've been doing a lot of pushes for it. Yeah, how do you kind of feel? How are you on those kind of spectrum, on that?
well, one page rules lore. I can see like for the Grimdark Future lore, I can see the direction they wanted to go, and I think in a universe where people are used to grimdark lore like we've had in the past, grimdark future lore doesn't really scratch that itch.
Mhm.
It feels like a lot of like there's going to be more lore. I know it's early days for it, but it feels like there's not much war in the war game lore.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah.
and so I'm sure as time goes on, they'll add more lore, and we'll see some more writers come in there with be more brutal, like we all want it to be. But it kind
Are
of feels a bit more. It
are we
feels a
some,
bit more Star Trek now than it should. I think.
aren't we kind of just really messed up people? We're like, we want more mass genocide and more war.
That's right.
Where's the genocide? Where's the
I want my
atrocities?
murder porn. Where is it?
Well, very cool. Now, but the fantasy lore, how do you kind of feel about that side of it? Remember, I felt the fantasy lore was actually more dark than Grimdark
Yeah,
Future.
the fantasy lore feels like it was more like fleshed out.
Yeah.
I haven't honestly I haven't read all of the fantasy book yet because I've just been so I do a whole lot better listening to podcasts while I'm painting stuff instead of reading a book.
Hmm.
But a lot of what I've seen and what I've picked up from the different army sections, it I like the way the fantasy lore is going.
Hmm.
The armies being different than the way we've seen them in the past with other games. I really like that. It makes sense with what they're doing. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, and the fantasy lore I think it is a tier or two higher than their grimdark lore.
Yeah, it seems to work. Now, are you still okay? I'd say this. When you play a game of OPR, are you still playing it in 40K terms? Like for me, when I play my high elf fleets, I'm just playing Eldar. Like that is do you think that way or have you moved towards this new universe sort of in your head? Or is it a different one altogether? Or
Well, in my head, like I've moved away from 40K in my head. I'll still catch myself sometimes. Like
Mhm.
I'll refer to a unit as like when I did the elementals list, I still refer to them as Wraith Guard at some
Mhm.
points. So things that are just kind of ingrained in there. But like story wise, whenever I build an army, because now this year I'm working on themed lists. Story wise, I just kind of make up my own like lore for them. Like the one I have coming up, there's a dwarf mining guild or a dwarf mining union that got
Mhm.
really mad at some trolls, and they're just trying to blow them up with all the guns and mining equipment they have. Um, yeah, I don't really stick to any lore right now. It's just kind of making it up on a per army basis. Like
Okay.
the next one, the next Grimdark Future one I have coming up after I do all the Pathfinders is the Infected Colonies, which is something that's not in 40K at all. And I have them all in transports, and I'm calling the list Flying Ebola. Airborne Ebola. Why? Just because I thought it was a funny name.
Okay, that's
So
pretty
that's going to
cool.
be the theme.
Well, man, well, maybe in the future we will have a Warboss Fits lore section. We will have the Warboss Fits universe. And that'd be pretty cool. Um, so your name's Warboss Fits, so I think, I don't want to make it too easy on you because obviously you're going to pick orcs, but maybe you won't. Otherwise, I don't want to give you an easy question here. But I always like to ask people. So, what's your favorite sci-fi and fantasy lore? That you can pick one of both, but just across every. It doesn't even have to be. Well, I like to try and stick it in wargaming, but yeah.
Well, the funny thing is I have two separate ones. Like the fantasy one and the sci-fi one don't mesh together. But my sci-fi one, I love like a junkyard cobbled together Mad Max style stuff where everything is rusted and busted and barely working. I love that in an army for sci-fi. So the orcs in Grimdark Future kind of fit that bill, but the jackals I think are the
Yeah.
ones that mostly fit that there. So I played some jackals when I did my Ranger Day, and I was having fun with those. And just
Mhm.
because those models are so gorgeous, I was just like, here, look at these. These are one-page rules models. They look great. But then for fantasy, I am the complete opposite. I love heavy cavalry, heavy armor, lance charges, knights smashing into each other.
Mhm.
So it would be like Britonia or the Chivalrous Kingdom
Oh wow.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I like it.
it's like two opposites that do not mesh together, but that's where my brain goes in those genres.
Well, it is. Well, that's kind of Trench Crusade. Trench Crusade is kind of the grunge meets the knightly stuff. So I can kind of see that. Yeah. Yeah. And that's me. Like I really do like Trench Crusade lore a lot. The game is it's funny. The game Trench Crusade is good, but I have gotten spoiled on OPR. Like it to me, it is a little random. I think as long as you're playing Trench Crusade for fun, like I don't know that I want to ever get like into the tournament scene but it is a little too random for me. But it is like it is nice to play a different game where things are just a little more wacky. And I like that the game system fits the world, right? Where it's almost like playing D&D where a 20 like there's basically a 5% chance for you to do anything. It's like I
Mhm.
want to kill this demon. Well, you rolled a 20 and you managed to just, this one guy just goes and just pokes this demon and he just falls down because you critted him or something. So, well, very cool. Very cool. And that's cool to know that you've sort of got this so you play like Gorka Morka, right? I think like maybe Gorka Morka sort of things or Necromunda kind of the side of things.
Yeah, I used to. I used to play Gorka Morka, Mordheim, Necromunda. I used to play Battlefleet Gothic.
Oh man.
Like yeah, that's why I like Warfleets, but it's no Battlefleet Gothic yet. I gotta talk to some people when I go to Adepticon. Be like, we need to talk about warships. All right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and because you did do I want to get into Warfleets, um, but I've just never got the chance to. And so and I've seen Battlefleet Gothic getting played. I've never is it as good of a game? Like is it a really would you say BFG is a very good game? I've only just seen the models.
It is. I mean, it is a really good game. Like the base game is really good, and everything they've released up until I think things started getting wacky when the Necron army came out or the Necron fleet came out.
Mm,
Things started getting a little wacky there, and then they kind of dropped support for it later on. But the Battlefleet Gothic has a community that just keeps it going, and they've tweaked and they've changed things over the God. It's been going for what 15 years now.
hmm
They've tweaked some stuff over since then, and I can't find anyone to play it with me.
Yeah.
That's the only problem I have.
Well, I lucked out that same thing in my community. There is an Epic. They've kept the Epic going, so I play Epic as well. It's kind of that 6 to 8 mil scale, and I really enjoy Epic. And I wish I did have a community around here, just like you said, that kept up Battlefleet Gothic, so that I could sort of get into it.
Mhm.
Um, but it's just one more game. Is there any so you play OPR, is there any other sort of games that you're really interested in sort of getting in that maybe we'll be seeing on the channel or even just personally? Is there any sort of
I mean, there's like Turnip 28.
hmm
I really want to get into Turnip 28, but it's something that I'm going to have to like dedicate time to. And with just my production schedule with painting and printing stuff, I just don't have the time for it yet.
yeah.
Like I got tons of terrain out here that I've built and primed. I just haven't got to the painting part yet for it because I got four armies on my painting spot right now.
Man.
So
And you are truly an inspiration to me. Like one of the things I really enjoy is I try to catch your painting streams. If I can't catch them, I'll go and watch them after the fact because it helps me to paint. I've been trying to really be, and so how do you kind of like, is it, how do you keep up that schedule? Like keep up, does the YouTube channel help you do that? Or how does, because you're very regimented, I think. Yeah, yeah.
well, yeah, a lot of it is that I've made the schedule. So like in my mind, I'm always thinking you got stuff to do, and then a lot of it is I don't sleep much. I, I only sleep like I mean 5 hours a night. I don't know
Yeah.
why. That's the way it works. If I fall asleep at 8 a.m. or 8 p.m., I'm up at 3. That's just how it works.
Yeah.
So while everyone else goes to bed, I just go downstairs into the basement, turn on the podcast, and just start throwing paint.
Very cool. Very cool. Is there any particular podcast that you like to listen to with your painting that kind of helps you get over the hump or
Not anyone in particular. Like I'll listen to like the Long War, whenever they have a podcast out, just because I've been listening to those guys since the beginning of their podcast.
Mm.
Like me and Kenny Boucher used to throw dice together 20 years ago. Again, God, we're old now. um, and then I watch a lot of anime recaps,
Ah, okay. Very
a lot
cool.
of audio books like the HFY, the YouTube channels that just have mostly AI voices. I'll listen to those.
Oh yeah, that's pretty good. Well, very good. I'm trying to get because I need to try to help. I'm working. I've been doing pretty good. Speed paints have really helped me to get back into painting. I feel I can. I'm not a great painter, and I feel like I can. They help me do just as good enough job that I can put stuff on my table and not. It's like it's nice for me, right? Where you can put stuff. It looks decent and you're also like accomplishing stuff, which I really like about it.
Well, remember, don't let perfection get in the way of good, and just get
Well,
it out there. That's
well,
that's a big thing that I like to preach is that painted models is better than unpainted models, and even if you think it looks terrible, someone else is going to think it's great.
but isn't there is something? I mean, I guess to me, I go on the Discords or I go on like the Facebook and like I subscribe to this. What's it called? Heavy metal. There's a heavy metal
Yeah.
Facebook page that you just people post stuff on there and it's just gorgeous and like and so but I try to like I always try to like post my stuff so that I can like it helps me but I always like remind people but should we do that as wargamers should we be I was asking Square Table Union the same thing are we getting a little too elitist we're wargamers where how do you kind of feel about that are you more of a because I know some wargamers they're very passionate that you have to like I know some wargamers are like you can't play me if you use speed paints because you're not involved in this sort of Stillman tradition, right?
Right. I think that there are some war gamers that use it as a like a gatekeeping tool. Like you didn't spend 300 hours on your army, you only spent 3 hours. Oh, shun, shame.
Yeah.
That's crap. That's crazy. Just getting models on the board. I mean, that's the whole point of the game is to play and get stuff on the board. Like
Mhm.
I put out a lot of stuff. And most of my things I don't think look amazing when I'm done, but everyone says, "Oh, they look so good." I'm like, "Okay, I guess." Like I went to an art school when I was in high school. I went to an art magnet school, Cypress Lake Center for the Arts down in
Mhm.
Fort Myers, Florida, and I did visual art stuff for 4 years. I did painting, reliefs, sculpting,
Oh
everything
wow.
I've ever done. I thought was crap,
Mhm.
but other people say it's great. And I have a friend who I'm going to see at Adepticon. Josh, I'm coming for you. Who was the art director for Blizzard? He went and he made that jump, and now he's back to painting models. And he picks up the brush, and his stuff comes out amazing. And he's talking to me, going, "Ah, it's crap." Like
Yeah.
you, son of a. I'm gonna throw a beer at you when I get there.
I mean, but I think that's one thing that like one of the things I think is impressive about you is that you make your stuff look. I would say this: it's not going to win a Golden Damon. I mean, who is? Jeez, but like you're able to really. You have a. I get so you have a. I would say this. It seems like you have a system because I watch your streams. You've got this system, right, where you're really good at like planning things out. So you seem to have that artistic eye. Correct me if I'm wrong, where you can sort of you know how it's going to turn out, so you don't need to second guess. It's like okay, and like, am I correct in that you sort of have done it enough
Yeah.
that you know exactly how it's going to turn out, and so
Well,
you're.
yeah, I start off with a general idea of I know what I want to do on this model, but also I could just call audibles in the middle of it, and I
Mhm.
know how to change things up on the fly if something isn't working out. Just keeping in motion and just the repetitiveness of doing it. Yeah, I've learned enough tricks. I've even shown on my streams. I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, I just noticed I made a big oopsie there, but everyone else on the stream is like, what? Where? I'm like, don't worry about it. Yeah, only I know it's there. And you just yeah, a lot of times I'll think about like what the main color for the army is going to be, and then like what accent color I want with it, and then like what type of leather they're going to have. Is going to be a dark leather? Is going to be a lighter leather to key off the other colors? And then, I went through I showed off the process on my little How to Paint Armies Fast. Is there's a couple ways to do it. You start from the inside out, where you start with the lowest things on the model first, the stuff that's going to be hardest to get to. Or with the speed paints, you start with the darkest and work your way to the lightest.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
the
yeah.
speed paints, darker colors, like if you have a dark brown color, I could hit it with the bleached bone color, and you're never going to see it.
Yeah.
So I can get a little sloppy towards the end. It's fine.
Well, I like it. I mean, and it's something that like I'd say for myself. I'm sure I'm not speaking for myself here. That you're definitely inspired me to help me paint more, and I've really enjoyed it. Like watching you paint, go on those streams. I pick up some little tips from you, and in fact, I'm working on some Infinity models right now, and same thing. It's really nice to just to paint. And I would say this, like I think that it's really good that we as gamers don't discourage. Like we shouldn't. I like what you say. We shouldn't let perfection get in the way because even though my stuff isn't going to win any awards, I'm still proud of what I was able to do at sort of where I'm at, right? And I think that we shouldn't try to discourage that or deny people. Will say this isn't good enough to show. It's like even if the stuff doesn't, isn't going to win an award, you did it and you should feel like proud of that, right?
Right. Right. Yeah. It's all part of the process. They say it takes 10,000 hours to become a master. Here I am, 100,000 hours in. I don't consider myself a master at all.
Yeah, yeah. Very cool.
I've
I
been
did.
painting for 30 years, and sometimes I still look at stuff and go, oh no.
Very cool. So I always like to ask people, what is like your dream wargaming experience? Like so if you were a millionaire and if you had all the time in the world or enough time that if time and money were just not an option, what would you do in wargaming that would just be like a dream that you would love to do?
Well, usually I would say you have a campaign that goes from like orbit, a space battle into a large scale battle on the ground using smaller models on a bigger board, going through different battles there while continuously fighting in space and just like a full theater spectrum of like a planetary invasion. I think that would be cool. But I mean, also just running a tournament, I think would be really cool, like a convention.
Oh, okay. Wow. Oh, that would be cool. Warboss convention. Warboss Con.
Yeah. Again, everything I do starts off as dumb ideas, and this one might be the dumbest. So
That's
we'll
a
see.
really good idea. I mean, I would go to Warboss Con. That would be, wouldn't that be cool in the future if we had like an OPR con? Man, that would be rock. That would be sick.
That would be good. But I mean, we're a ways from that.
Yeah.
Baby steps.
Baby steps, baby steps. Well, very cool. Well, I'd love to keep you on all day, but I know you're a busy man. You got that scheduled to get on. But can you tell us a little bit about what you've got planned for the future, for the channel? Any big initiatives that you got planned for this year? Yeah, what's sort of in your headspace?
Well, right now the thing I'm focusing on is Adepticon that's coming up in like 3 weeks.
Mhm.
So that's where my mind is right now. But I do have Grimdark Future. I'm going to be running a campaign this summer between the High Elf fleets and the Robot Legions, and that'll be everyone can send in battle reports and affect the score, kind of like I did with the last campaign.
Mhm.
And then accidentally, I don't know if you saw me doing the what are they, the bullywog frogs on the painting stream.
Mhm.
I picked a green that came out like Kermit the Frog. And I was telling everybody it's time to do the eyes. I'm like, quick, Google Kermit. I forgot what his eyes look like. So I made an entire war band that looked like Kermit the Frog. And that has branched out to I am now making war bands for different Muppets. So now
Fantastic.
I'm going to have a campaign over the fictional continent of Muppetopia where the different Muppets are going to be fighting each other in skirmish games. Why? Because we're ridiculous like that.
You gotta turn that into like a Trench Crusade variant where like all the Muppets are bloody and like there's Muppet heads everywhere. It's like Muppets, but it's like,
It's gonna be grim, dark Muppets.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Warboss. Not just for coming on the channel, but just thanks for everything you do. Like I said, you're definitely a personal inspiration from you. You've really gotten me personally back into painting and back into like it's really great to get back into that because there was a couple of years where I didn't paint and I felt because this is me personally. I felt that like I didn't want to do a painting because I didn't feel I was good enough. And so, but I think with yourself and like also the speed paints, yeah, it's helped me sort of get back into the side of the hobby that I really enjoy. So, Mr. Orbis, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem, man. It's great talking to you.